Hello, guys, and welcome back to today's new episode. Today, we are going to discuss about witches and magic. Specifically, I do want to say that the common misconception or conception or misconception, if you like, there is that the witches do not exist. But the witches, guys, are literally everywhere. So, what we're gonna do today is talk about that. Talk about witches, magic, and specifically, we're gonna look at that in Romania. So, I want to say before we even start that I found this job the most interesting job on earth. If I could, I would totally do it. Totally do it. It's my dream job. Before talking though about Romania and what happens with those witches, I want to make here clear and necessary premise. The premise that is so important for me is that the magic is widespread. It does not know any form of boundaries, right? Magic is not just something that is present in Africa or in other traditions like the voodoo tradition or things like that in Central America. But magic is very well known and widespread also in rational places. It is present in Thailand, it is present in, North Korea, where the king or emperor or whoever you want to call it, the president of North Korea is consulting a card reader before doing anything, to London, where there are plenty of rational people, but there are also circles where magic is practiced in different ways, right? And so this is something that is pretty much across the board, and we have to understand why magic is so common and widespread, west as well as east parts of the world, and so widespread across the different social standings of people. Now, this job is absolutely, without the shred of a doubt, absolutely my favorite job on earth. Why? Because it's perfect, right? There's nothing that is wrong with this job. Meaning, in other words, you help people. You also come in contact with a lot of people. You get to perform, rituals, and you get to, be of help, and so it's like perfect. Oh, perfect for me, and I would totally do it. And I have to say that, they're paying taxes right now, right? In Romania, these witches are paying taxes. The government passed law, and so being a witch is recognized as a legit type of job, and therefore they do pay taxes, which is kind of amazing though, because they weren't paying so much taxes up until 2011, and so I would totally have done it, because they earn also quite a lot of money. So that's fascinating. Now let's talk for a second about witches in Romania. Now, we said they pay taxes. One more important thing here is that basically this is a generational type of job, in the sense that basically this is a job that gets transmitted from mother to daughter, and also this type of witches have to marry necessarily or basically sons of other witches, right, so that the power remains within the family, right? So this is also extremely important. So they have arranged marriages, combined marriages with people that have basically their family decided that they're going to marry. Then the daughters, pretty much the men don't do that much, right? The wives are going to provide for them food and all the necessary, right? And then the daughters are going to continue this sort of tradition. Now, with that being said, let's talk about what exactly they do. Well, in very pretty much like short words, in a very simple way, we can say that they save the spirit. And so basically, pain is interpreted as interference or possession. And so there are evil spirits or demonic presences that the person needs to be liberated from. So what else that they do? They do a bunch of different things, right? One, for instance, is predicting, right? Now, predicting a future and making predictions is extremely important. Most of those witches, right? They reunite for a very official type of official type of like festivities, like solstices of sorts, and they reunite there and then they predict. And many of those predictions are very general. But if you look at Mihaela Minca, one of the richest and most known witches in Romania, she makes fairly decent predictions. For instance, she predicted periods of drought and the periods of overflowing of rivers, and those have happened. And I'm sure she made other predictions that I'm not fully aware of that were also correct. And so they predict a lot, but this is kind of like the minor role that they have in society. But the thing that I find even more interesting is the rituals. Now, I have been exposed to rituals and to magic, especially when I was a child, right? And I do remember that physical presence was extremely important. You had to be there. You were the object of those type of performances. You were given objects or handmade objects that would serve, for instance, for protection purposes. And those were actually real objects, right? And so physical presence was so important. You couldn't do it you couldn't do it at distance, right? Whereas black magic, so to speak, so evil eyes and things like that, could be performed, at distance only when you had objects, right? When you had a shirt, a doll, or something like this, right? So I've been exposed to that, and what struck me here was the idea that you could perform magic at a distance without having any object or anything. Maybe sometimes they will require a picture, but they could cast like spells, and they could perform whatever they did without requiring much material at all or physical presence. They received, in fact, phone calls by people abroad to do all of that, and they sorted out their work pretty much independently in a way that is fascinating. To perform those rituals, they use animals. Colored or black colored or like dark animals, for instance hens that have dark feathers, that also sometimes just they get shaken so much that they die, or also black cats, and they use like feces, so fecal matter of black cats, to make their potions, which they're quite something. I mean, the smell and the whole host of ingredients that they use must be quite something. Anyway, that is what they do. But these guys are techno witches, right? So they do operate officially at a distance, right? They just receive the phone call, and then they go ahead and start operating, right? And what is interesting here is that they and again, what is particularly striking here is that the kind of tasks that they have to complete, right? So sometimes, right, this type of tasks involve people in pain, right, and people trying to liberate themselves from pain and sufferance that they feel, right? And so usually this is more of a on-site present kind of job, right? Where people go there, or they go to their houses and they provide some sort of comfort and some sort of like ritual. They set up a ritual that is to liberate them from pain and sufferance. What happens though is that most of these tasks though, they require or they can be executed through an online kind of setting. So basically they just go and make potions and then do some sort of like white magic and black magic as well. And a lot of those tasks involve people trying to curse their ex-spouses or their ex-friends or their exes, in general, people that have previously known in their lives and that have hurt them. And so there's a lot of people that call them just to send some curse. And in this sense, I must admit that the moral of those witches is pretty flexible, right? So I was saying at the beginning, this is a job that I would absolutely adore, love doing, right? I would have no issues with making potions, a little issue maybe with killing animals, just in a ritual, but I can kind of get it. What really struck me was the flexibility of their morals, right? So you're a witch, and you have to decide, in my opinion, somehow you have to decide on which side you are, if you're a white witch or if you're a black kind of witch, right? And they have no morals, they just get paid, they only care about that. Or anyway, it seems that they are very rich, or some of them are very rich, right? And they feel authorized to do whatever they want and also curse people that they don't even know just because they hurt one side of it, right? Now, unfortunately, pain is universal in the world, yet we don't throw around and curse people, though we do have negative thoughts on people. So I'm not really convinced on that point, but it struck me their flexibility. And by the way, they get paid because they get paid a lot, because a job can cost from 500 to 900 euros, translated in very quality, if you like, about purely economic terms. This is an expensive type of job, an expensive type of like task, or their tariffs, their costs are very expensive, and they get paid this much, right? Which is impressive, because this is a job for most of the times for a psychotherapist, and in the case of psychotherapist, you don't pay them 500 at once for cursing people. You just go and say, I have a problem, can you help me, and things like that. Anyway, with that being said, I only want to know what you guys think, what you guys make out of all what we have said. Please don't forget to comment below, let me know. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel, don't forget to hit the notification bell, and to like the video by clicking on the like. We'll talk some more next time. Bye!